Sé que hay en tus ojos con solo mirar que estás cansado de andar y de andar y caminar, girando siempre en un lugar. Sé que las ventanas se pueden abrir, cambiar el aire depende de
So today we're here in beautiful Rancho Palos Verdes with an author, educator, an expert in international trade, most importantly a family man and a dear friend of mine and Dave's. So Dan Gardner, thank you for hosting us, and it's great to see you, man.
You're welcome.
Yeah.
Thanks for coming. Happy to have you guys.
Yeah, man. Good to see you.
Likewise.
So before we get started, I wanted to talk to you a little bit about this.
I thought that was at the end.
No, this is now. We're gonna So tell me about this, Dan. How did this come about? I know this is over a course of many, many years, but I'd love to. This is called Letters to My American Babies by Dan Gardner.
That's actually the fifth book that I've written. And it started out as a series of letters to my biracial children, essentially, as a reflection of experiences I had as a young man, values instilled in me by my parents, things of this nature. But much of it has to do with the experiences I had, not only working with Fritz Companies and all the things that we did together, but other facets of my career in international trade.
What was the reception of your children after reading that book?
Well, it didn't start out as a book. It started out like any parent, I would think, trying to convey lessons and instill values in your kids, and of course, in one ear and out the other. So then I said, okay, I'm going to write these kids some letters. And this is while they were still living at home. Two, of course, are away at college. The baby, who's going to be 15, she still lives here. But I started writing letters to them when they still lived here, putting it in the mail and trying to create some formality around the whole exercise. And then you find the letter sitting on their desk 3 weeks later, unopened. So I came to the conclusion that the value that I think is in those letters, unfortunately, will be more valuable when I'm not here anymore.
For those, Dan, that are watching that don't know you, maybe they've been under a rock for the last 20 years, why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself, a little overview of professional and personal, if you don't mind.
We all know each other from Fritz Companies, and we're of a similar age. So,
well, come on now.
But all around certainly came up in the international shipping business, which of course is the business that we chose in a very formative environment that was Fritz Companies. And I was so happy to see Lynn Fritz in that first video. You couldn't find a better person to kick off the series than Lynn Fritz, because predominantly him and his management team had such a profound impact on people's lives.
We often joke that everything he's responsible for, good and bad. Right? So,
Whatever path you end up choosing in this industry, whether you end up in Latin America or Europe or Asia, every path is beautiful. You know what I mean? Yeah. It's like wherever you end up in this game is such a great place to be, because the opportunity to learn things that you can't learn just by staying in the U.S. for your whole career is just, there's no way to state how important it is.
I tell younger people, especially in class all the time, it's not necessarily for everybody, and you can be sure that it's a contact sport. So you have to make your decisions. You have to live with those decisions and keep forging ahead. And here we are 30 plus years later.
And you know what? I don't even question it. I wake up and just feel blessed. The fact that we're sitting here having this conversation all these years later in this amazing place with two dear friends and his beautiful wife and our new friend Seamon.
That's right.
Are you kidding me? Dan, tell me about this right here, if you don't mind, or tell us about that.
Well, there's a lot of history behind that. That is a recognition for some time I spent teaching in the Masters of International Business program at Florida International University in Miami. It's the Professor of the Year award in that MIB, the Masters of International Business, for the academic year 2001 and 2002. Well, when did 9/11 happen? Right. 2001. Now, in that classroom, there were 35 students and me, and I was the only native-born U.S. person in the room. I wanted to put forth a big effort and prove to these students that the U.S. was still a good place to come and all this business. So at the end of the semester, and I was the only non-tenured PhD in the program, they voted me top professor for
That's awesome.
the semester. Now that's not the only time that that's happened, but it's the most important time in terms of
Great.
historical context.
So Dan, when we talked earlier this week, you had saw the Lynn, the originals, the first session that kicked off in San Francisco.
Right.
And you had a great comment about how much you liked it, one, but you mentioned specifically one of the pieces that you liked was his comments about technology being important, but in the forwarding world, the human element of it getting kind of lost within the sea of technology that exists today.
I think you have to put the use of technology in the proper historical context, because we can remember, sadly, that the fax machine was the biggest thing in technology. I worked in an office of 50 people before joining Fritz Companies, that we had one guy that was allowed to use the fax because none of the other knuckleheads could figure out how to use it. And it kind of literally grew from there.
Right.
But the acceleration in the disruption that technology has today, I think has swung the pendulum a little too far towards technology and an over-reliance on technology, where really what it is an enabler that creates visibility for customers, control over their supply chain, the ability to make decisions, and then measure the results. Collaboration for sure. But what I think has happened is this over-reliance on technology, and not the loss of the importance of relationships, but maybe a little bit less emphasis on it. It's pleasing to number one, see the success that you guys have had with OW Logistics, but it's based on an appreciation for technology, but a combination of technology that enables the quality of the relationships that you focus on, because you guys are still very much relationship oriented.
Yeah.
And I mean, look, you're on tour for 3 months stateside to visit existing and potential customers. I'd say that's probably the biggest manifestation of your commitment to relationships that there is. Not everybody does that. Technology is a tool, it's an enabler. It should facilitate the human element of your relationship. So you're dealing from multiple instances of real life experience that perhaps others may have not acquired yet in their career.
Yeah, great. Thank you, Dan. Thanks for the kind words.
Yeah.
The company for sure. So Dan, we've thank you again for your time. Thank you for your friendship.
You're welcome.
For all these years.
Yeah,
I've
same.
been a great friend, a great colleague. It's white labeled OWL wine. There's a couple bottles because you're really special. And so thank you. Again, there's instructions in there. There's tour information.
Not your father's forwarder tour. So I mentioned this while we were talking in the context of the human element and getting in front of customers and such. You guys have taken a very unique approach, and you're driving in an RV,
Right.
A branded up, wrapped RV of the Not Your Father's Forwarder tour, which I think is just outstanding. By the way, what's the game plan? Is it Route 66 or what?
We are gonna hit Route 66.
Where are you going from here? Southern Cal?
We're Southern Cal, just outside of LA now. We're heading from here out to Palm Springs, Palm Desert, to catch up with some old friends and colleagues, and then from there via Joshua Tree up to Las Vegas for some customer planning meetings, and then from there Route 66 and eventually over into Dallas before we head to the southeast and east coast. So by the middle of May, we'll have covered something like 5,500 miles, I think, on the tour.
Yeah.
Through just about every part of North America, with the exception of Mexico.
That's so cool.
Yeah, so it's going to be great. We're loving it so far. We just can't wait to get out and meet with more people.
But you guys, on top of the technology component, which you clearly have through Mercado, of course, the industry knowledge, the relationships, that human approach, you're just fun to be around. And sometimes people lose sight of the importance of that. And to come up with this idea and go in the RV, I think it's awesome. I'm a little jealous. But
We got space for you.
there are certain members of the family that would frown on that type of activity.
You always have a seat on our board. Anytime you make that phone call.
Is that a paid position, or what's the deal on that?
Well,
You know, my benevolence only goes so far, okay? Dave, a pleasure. Yeah, you
always,
too.
Always.
Y en tus ojos con solo mirar que estás cansado de andar y de andar y caminar, girando siempre en un lugar. Sé que las ventanas